Formula One teams like Williams, Sauber, and Haas, they lose every year. But they always come back for the next season. Why do they show up even if they're backmarkers? Is it being part of the sport, an interesting marketing channel, or just the money they can earn? From the outside, Formula One looks like the best motorsport there is, with fierce competition between 10 teams, well-known brands as constructors, and a sport that travels all around the world, bringing your brand in front of many, many eyes. In reality, it's different. It's a sport divided into 3 sections, with front-running teams like Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull Racing that always finish at the top of the table, midfield teams that try to be the best of the rest, like Alpine, Aston Martin, and Racing Bulls, and then there's the backrunners, like Williams, Sauber, and Haas, that can barely score any points. If we look back at Formula One history, we see a shift. In the early 2000s, F1 was dominated by teams with manufacturers behind them and massive budgets. Independent teams were almost doomed to fail because of that. It was, and honestly still is, a sport ruled by politics and money. These financial difficulties and the unlimited funds of some of the teams, they ultimately led to Honda, Toyota, and BMW leaving the sport. Due to a financial crisis, economic pressure, and lack of success, these teams quit their Formula One programs. They just didn't get a good return on investment. It was a shock to see them leave, especially for someone who grew up during that period. I still miss those teams. In 2010, the FIA tried to change these financial differences. They lobbied for a budget cap, which would make it easier for independent teams to compete with the big manufacturer-backed teams. Technical benefits, a budget cap of £40 million, and a grid expansion would benefit the sport in their eyes. The plan, it failed due to opposition from big teams. They said it would damage the sport and compromise the values of F1 as a premier motorsport series. It went even further though. They threatened to break away from F1 and start their own series, ultimately leading to 0 changes. But the FIA's promise to introduce a cost cap, it did lure 3 new teams to Formula One. Actually, it was 4 teams, but the US F1 team failed before they even started, all because of, well, financial issues. With Virgin, Lotus, and HRT, the grid looked promising with 26 cars. While Virgin scored points, Lotus started off promising, and HRT was resilient. They all failed and disappeared between 2010 and 2016. These teams gave us beautiful moments and were stepping stones for personnel and drivers. During those years, Williams experienced a downfall. A once successful team became consistently stuck at the back of the grid. A lack of investment in their facilities and the loss of key partners like BMW as an engine supplier in 2005 and sponsors like Martini in 2018 almost led them to bankruptcy. Their legacy nearly disappeared, which would have been heartbreaking for Formula One fans. From 2016 onwards, we had a new team on the grid, Haas. They joined Formula One and did this in a smart way. They collaborated with Ferrari and bought every part that was allowed. Their chassis was made by Dallara to save even more money. They didn't own a simulator, and later they even had a weird-looking pit wall, all to save costs. Haas's campaign started off strong, scoring points in their first race, and by 2018, they were 5th in the constructors' standings. After that though, it was all downhill until 2024. But why are teams like this still competing in Formula One? Why do they still waste millions to finish at the back of the grid? And why do drivers even sign with these teams? Well, it's all due to F1's revenue sharing model, loyalty bonuses, and the global exposure of competing in this motorsport series. Formula One, it's one of the few sports that splits its revenue with the teams that compete in it. Each team receives an equal share of the revenue for just participating. It's funded by race promotion fees, media rights, and sponsorships. The higher you finish in the championship, the more you earn. If you become a champion as a team, you get a higher payout. There's also a loyalty bonus, which gives Ferrari, for example, 5% extra of the total payout. In 2023, F1 made more than $3 billion in revenue. Red Bull Racing became champion, but Ferrari earned more due to their historical value. Haas finished last, but they still collected around $60 million in prize money for their 12 points. Williams, they performed better and earned €87 million with a 7th place finish. Not bad for teams that are always at the back of the grid. For some teams, building a legacy, being part of Formula One, and their longing for success are also reasons to stay. Williams debuted in F1 in 1997 and has won 9 Constructors' Championships and 7 Drivers' Championships. They want to keep their name associated with F1 and dream of a revival of their once successful team. Besides that, the global exposure and the marketing value of the sport are worth a lot. Gene Haas, the owner of Haas, sells machines, and what better way to promote this part of your business than through a sport that travels the world and attracts millions of viewers? Speaking of attracting millions of views, this season I'm trying to reach new heights, just like F1 did after Drive to Survive, so I'd love it if you subscribe to my channel. Thanks to Netflix and Drive to Survive, F1 became a global phenomenon and attracted millions of new fans. Fans that might not know about Formula One's history, but they are fans who are heavily invested in the teams and drivers due to the dramatic element of the Netflix series. This all leads to more eyeballs on social media, which can attract sponsors. This surge in popularity benefits every team. While Haas did make some mistakes like signing a sponsorship deal with Rich Energy and signing Nikita Mazepin along with his Russian millions, they still managed to secure a yearly $20 million sponsorship deal with MoneyGram. In 2024, their story became even better. Besides good results, the team also signed a partnership with Toyota, which will benefit them a lot in the future. A brand with so much general racing experience as a partner, that's definitely a major move. F1's popularity even saved Williams from bankruptcy. After several years of financial difficulties, poor performance, and frequent driver swaps, they sold the team to investment company Doralton Capital. Their resilience paid off, and the legacy of Williams stayed alive. Sauber was sponsored by Alfa Romeo but decided to stop, a team that's been part of the sport since 1993 and was the key to the careers of Kimi Raikkonen and Charles Leclerc. It could have disappeared. All those years of being a backmarker? Surely it didn't help their value, right? Wrong. They still signed a $100 million 3-season deal with stake, and if that wasn't enough, the team also got sold to Audi, one of the biggest car manufacturers in the world. All of that happened to them just by showing up every year without giving up. Since 2021, we've had a budget cap. This budget cap is aimed at leveling the playing field, making it a sustainable and efficient sport. It affects teams like Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull. They used to spend hundreds of millions of dollars every year, which made them frontrunners and almost untouchable. But when there are teams attached, there's also teams that benefit. McLaren made a resurgence in the last couple of years and became Constructors' Champions in 2025. Aston Martin and Alpine both gained traction, finished on the podium several times, and collected a lot of prize money. The teams are closer to each other than ever before. With the 2025 season approaching fast, we could experience one of the best seasons since 2012, with multiple teams competing for race wins. It's the last year of the current regulations. Top teams might be more conservative due to the budget cap, while smaller teams could go all out because this might be their last opportunity. Haas, for example, will for the first time since the budget cap reach that limit thanks to their performance improvement in 2024, bigger and better sponsorships, and F1's revenue sharing. They can show their full potential. With their current team boss, a new driver pairing, and Toyota as a partner, I'm pretty excited to see what they can achieve. Williams is working on a 2.0 version of their team. For years, they didn't have good facilities, worked with outdated equipment, and signed drivers that cost them more than they'd like. In 2024, they suffered 17 crashes, didn't have enough components to run both cars in Australia, and made a loss over the entire season. Yet, they managed to sign a driver as talented as Carlos Sainz, someone who is worthy of a better seat. This proves my point. F1 teams and drivers, they always dream that one change can turn a team into a frontrunner. But sometimes I wish we could keep certain regulations for longer. As I've said before, I'm pretty vocal about the current state of F1, and I'm not a fan of the boat-like cars we have today. Smaller teams, they're longing for a change. It gives them hope. What if they successfully develop a car, the engine's a rocket, and everything falls into place? It could mean they're at the front of the grid instead of being a backmarker. This, well, it actually happened in 2009. Honda left, and Ross Brawn bought the team for $1. Ferrari and McLaren were expected to dominate again in 2009 after being the top teams in 2008. But Brawn, they spotted a loophole in the regulations, giving them a massive advantage. They won both championships and eventually sold the team to Mercedes. To this day, it's one of the biggest feel-good stories in Formula One. Aston Martin, they also gained a lot in 2023. In Bahrain, they showed that they'd developed a good car and were the second fastest team behind the dominant Red Bull Racing for a while. Yes, by mid-season and into 2024, they did slip down the order, but it still showed the possibilities of a rule change. It gave smaller teams hope, and it kept them going even when they lose. In 2026, everything changes. The budget cap will increase due to inflation, new regulations, and new engines. In 2024, new engines changed everything. Mercedes took over and became the dominant team until 2021. Every team will be aiming for that kind of success, but first, we have the potential for an all-time classic season in 2025. This year, we still have the same cars and the same regulations. With Red Bull Racing losing their dominant position and McLaren's resurgence, everyone will be on their toes, knowing that this could be the one season they shine. Speaking of shining moments, Kimi Räikkönen and Lewis Hamilton definitely had their fair share. Watch one of these videos next because I know you'll enjoy them.